did you ever wonder what would happen if the camera titan got infected in episode 54? Or what would happen if the speaker race got replaced by the microphone race? Well, after looking into these topics and scenarios multiple times, I figured out exactly what would happen. Honestly, they are really insane, and a lot of crazy events would occur. For example, if the camera titan got infected in the 54th episode, things wouldn't go so well for the Alliance, as instead of winning the battle and G-Man running away, all the agents in that episode would be killed. Well, maybe except TV Woman, since she could simply teleport away. However, on the downside, Plungerman would die in this episode, which means a lot would change in the future. But what happens next? Well, there are two possible ways the story would progress. The first one being that, due to the fact the Skibidis now have an extra titan on their hand, they would continue to destroy the Alliance. It seems that due to the way it happened with the speakers, the cameras would go into hiding. Or maybe not the cameras, since they are the heart of the show. Another thing that proves they would still try to fight is the fact that even after the base camera titan got defeated in episode 20, that really didn't stop them, unlike the speakers and TVs. But even though they try to resist, there's only so much that they can do, and the Skibidis would obviously be dominating the battle. Another thing I want to point out is that it seems the Astros wouldn't be against the Skibidi, at least for now, since they wouldn't call G-Man a fraud as he's actually winning this time instead of running away. Or maybe it could be the opposite, since there's a chance they wanted to kill G-Man for a different reason. But let's hear your thoughts. Okay, the Alliance is cooked, but everyone gangster until the TV race does their thing. The upgraded TV comes into the battle to help the Alliance. With the introduction of the TV, there is no doubt that he would, with the help of some agents, uninfect either one or even both Titans. Also, this time, more TV men would help the agents, and we might even get to see TV Daddy much earlier. Yeah, the ladies are at the edge of their seats right now. Anyways, with this, G-Man would be taken down, and here they would notice that he's a fake. The Titans would also be in decent fighting shape since the TV wouldn't go all out on them, and there's no kamikaze this time. This would mean that the Alliance would now be even stronger than they were in the original, since they would probably still be in their prime. Before we talk about how the story would continue, let's quickly look at the second scenario. Honestly, this one would be quite similar to the first one. However, the only difference here is that instead of going ram on the agents, the Skibidis would retreat and return to their base. This would change the plot a lot, as we might get to even see an updated version of the upgraded Prime Cameraman Titan. But nah, I don't think so. However, the sure thing that would happen here is that the Skibidis would be much more powerful since they would most likely steal and replicate the technology of the Camera Titan. This would also mean that some new mutants would be able to use the shield technology, and this would obviously make things very difficult for the Alliance. However, same as in the first scenario, everything is fun and games till the upgraded TV Titan comes in and the story continues. Although this time, the normal agents would face major difficulties, they would still be on the win. Don't forget, despite Plungerman dying earlier, this time the Dark Speakerman and TV Daddy are there to help. Everything would probably continue as it did in the original, but this time, as explained, the Astros would be on good terms with the Skibidis. This means that G-Man wouldn't fight against the Astro Detainer, and with the Skibidis and the Astros on the same side, it's probably GG for the Titans, even though they are more powerful. In the long run of the battle, it wouldn't really matter, as even Boom said that this Red Astro isn't the strongest amongst them. We all know that this guy is a big deal. Even on the normal agents side, they would be cooked as well, and the Skibidis would win the war. Probably, yeah. It's crazy to think that this small change could have ended the series. Okay, this scenario didn't end well, but let's see what would happen if the microphone race replaced the speakers. Since this one would be a bit tricky plot-wise, let's just see how microphones would perform when put in similar events as the speakers. Would they be able to cover the void, or would they drag the others down? Well, let's find out. You see, after looking into it multiple times, I found out that there are basically 5 episodes where the Speaker Titan did a lot of stuff. No, I wouldn't talk about their special agents fight since it's only going to end up the same way. Okay, these 5 episodes are episode 58, episode 65, 67, 70, and episode 73. How would the Sonar Titan perform in them? In the 58th episode, we saw that the Speaker Titan had to clear the Skibidi mutants attacking the agents, and at the end, he was bombarded with blasts. But he still took all of them out easily before the upgraded camera even came to the scene. But would the Sonar Titan be able to do the same? Well, obviously, the first set of mutants would be easy, as the Sonar could just jab his fist to stun them and then take them out quickly. Also, I do hear in the comments that the Titans from Verlance are very huge and probably bigger than Dafuk Booms, so reaching some flying mutants wouldn't be a problem. Even the second set that would surround him wouldn't do any damage, and you know they would all be destroyed after that. So yeah, the Microphone Titan easily clears this episode, but how about the next one? In this scenario, the Sonar Titan would have to team up with the Camera Titan to fight against the fake G-Man. Although this one was pretty strong, it wouldn't be any problem for both of them, as we know the Sonar Titan's physical strength is equal to or even higher than that of the camera. This would mean that this G-Man would be up against 2 Titans with insane physical strength, and taking into account his showings, his power would not be enough to fight against them, and he would easily get cooked by both Titans. But how about the kamikazes? Well, on the surface, this, it seems like both of them would get hit, right? Since the sonar doesn't have any special ability that would contribute. I mean, it's not like he could clap to send waves that would stop it from falling. But what if I told you that they wouldn't get hit? You see, in recent episodes of Virulence, we saw that the Sonar Titan also has a shield, and if he covers alongside the camera's own shield, they would most likely come out unscathed, and thus pass this episode as well. The next battle would be against the Scientist. Although we saw that the Scientist was decently strong and obviously was giving our Titans the beat of their lives in the original story, this time would be different. Not only are the Titans not damaged and are in full health, the Microphone Titan, Sonar Man, is a lot more powerful than the Speaker Titan. With this, there's no doubt in my mind that this duo would easily defeat the Scientist, and G-Man would even be late to come save him. Okay, so far they've survived 3 scenarios, and quite easily too. However, let's look at one episode where the Speaker Titan was the MVP and see if the Sonar would be too. Episode 70. In this case, we would assume that the TV Titan also gave energy to the Sonar Titan. Yeah, it's already crazy, isn't it? Well, if that's so, then just a single clap would be potent enough to create a tornado. Okay, maybe I'm kidding, but still, these acid helicopters are not doing anything. And although you might think he does this himself, he would actually need help from the other Titans since he doesn't have the fighting style of the Speaker Titan. But overall, he would still be able to pass by clearing all of them. However, unlike the Speaker Titan, he wouldn't be the MVP. Another thing you should know about the Sonar Titan's presence in all these scenarios is that this would actually make things much easier for the other Titans, as random damages would be avoided, making them still in prime state when facing future enemies. Okay, the final episode is episode 73. This was the episode where they had to fight against G-Man with advanced plot armor, since the secret agent was responsible for it. This time, however, even though at the end Jimmy would probably still run away, the Titans wouldn't take this much damage in the fight. I even believe they would bully poor Jimmy even with his plot armor turned on. Okay, maybe not, but you know what the best part is? The Titans would still have enough strength to fight against the Astros, and the battle would be balanced instead of going in the Astros' favor. Did you ever wonder what would happen if Dom Studio Titans replaced Dafuk Boom's Titans in the original series? Or what if the secret agent never existed? Or even better, what would happen if the upgraded Camera Titan came to episode 47? Well, after looking into these topics and scenarios multiple times, I figured out exactly what would happen. And spoiler alert, some of them even turned out better than the original. For example, if Dom Studio Titans were in place of Dafuk Booms, the Alliance would become even stronger. Of course, I'm talking about their twin model, which includes the TV, camera, and speaker Titan. Even at the beginning of the story, the Alliance would already be dominating the toilets, as the camera Titan, even at the start of the multiverse, was really weak. Okay, but at least he was stronger than the base camera in the original series. Therefore, he wouldn't lose against G-Man, and would still continue to help the Alliance in battle until the Speaker Titan arrives. Now, I don't think I even have to explain the difference in strength and skill between these two base Titans. But no matter what, the important thing to note is that in this version, the Speaker Titan would not get infected. This is because he wouldn't be alone and would be fighting alongside his brother, the Camera Titan. This would change the story a lot, as a lot of deaths would be prevented. But it gets even better, as when we get to see the TV Titan, instead of seeing his base form, we would see the upgraded Daddy. I know we've seen Cinema Titan in the multiverse, but that wasn't canon, so we'll skip that version. Thus, the upper hand would lean more towards the Alliance's side. Yeah, I know. This is exactly what I see most of you complain about in the multiverse, but I guess that's how it is when you have really powerful Titans on your side. But everything wouldn't be all rainbows. As we all know, the Skbidis try their best to keep up with the advancements of the Alliance, which indicates that due to the TV Titan being the baseline of strength, the mutant would be even stronger, possibly even more than the camera and speaker. Since the difference in strength of the TV Titan compared to the other Titans is absolutely night and day. The story pretty much progresses with some arcs being totally irrelevant. The Titans totally eliminate almost every threat due to the presence of the TV Daddy protecting them. Yeah, it wouldn't be as cool as you expected, since they wouldn't showcase their upgraded forms. And I guess you know why, right? Also, the Scientist toilet would be taken down easily, and we would then get to the Astro arc. Another huge difference here is that in the battle between G-Man and the Astro Detainer, Jimmy would have some more win conditions. Since, as we explained earlier, he would be more powerful than he originally was, but he would stand no chance when fighting against the Titans. Surely he would be able to deal some damage to the other Titans, but the TV Titan would just be too much for him. Let's not also forget that even though Jimmy has some evil tricks up his sleeve, it wouldn't matter. Plus, there is also a rage mode, but we'll get to that in a little bit. We also know that in the secret scene of Season 24, we saw that the TV Titan still caught up to G-Man, but even then, the events would still be the same, as we shouldn't underestimate Jimmy's plot armor. The next thing that comes to the show are the Astros. Now, how would this one play out? Although we haven't seen much from these Astros, we shouldn't underestimate their powers, not even for a second, as their attack power is just too much. With this, the base Titans would get damaged seriously. And similar to the original story, the TV Titan would find a way to teleport one of them, as he knows he wouldn't stand a chance. Or maybe if he gets some brain cells off, he would try to go all out and attack them with his rage mode. Now, I'll leave this one to you. Do you think he would do anything significant in this state? Let us know in the comments. Okay, this scenario wasn't as epic as you thought it would be, but you would definitely like this next one. What if the secret agent never existed in the Skbidi series? Although we didn't see a lot from the secret agent in the original story, his absence would cause significant changes. Even way back in episode 65, most of the Alliance members would die, as we saw that he was responsible for the message that made the Alliance members push forward. And when the toilets arrived via teleportation, they already had some chances to escape. If not, they wouldn't have realized or had this opportunity, and thus most of them would get killed. Also, without the secret agent, it would be very difficult, if not impossible, to navigate through the Skbidi space, since there wouldn't be any lucky cameraman as well as this device. But you could be the lucky one by subscribing to the channel. Just do it. Since the secret agent isn't in this timeline, you're supposed to be here. But seriously now, surely they would be able to get in by blowing up the front door. But how many times would they be able to do that? So yeah, the bunker arc wouldn't go so smoothly, or might not even occur. However, this would also be kinda good since our dear Plungerman and Dark Speakerman would survive. And the most important of all is that all analysis channels wouldn't have to go into Albert Einstein mode trying to find him. Man, the story would have been a lot less complicated. But I think we should be glad that he did exist in the series, since the scientist would also survive. And you know how much tribute this would bring to the Alliance, right? Anyways, finally, what would happen if the upgraded camera Titan came to episode 47 instead of the cinema Titan? How would this play out? For starters, the camera Titan at this point is much stronger than Titan Cinema Man, as he possesses way more weapons and has more physical strength and durability. So even though he gets cornered by G-Man and the other mutants, he would just put their lights out pretty easily. And even if we assume that there were some other side plans Jimmy had in mind, it still wouldn't cut it. I mean, come on, it's our upgraded camera daddy we are talking about here, right? Plus, from his noted feats, he even handled more powerful versions of them. So this should be basically light work. He would kill G-Man and every other mutant around, and then would forcefully free the Speaker Titan from his infection. However, this means that the story would continue with only the camera Titan being upgraded, while these two remain at base, since they really didn't get damaged. And we all know them not getting upgraded wouldn't be the best. But on the bright side, G-Man is actually dead in this version of the story, which in theory is a good thing. But I think it would cause a huge problem for the Alliance, as the Astros would come much earlier in the series, since we saw that G-Man was one of their targets. Characters like the Detainer Astro would still survive since Jimmy isn't there to end him. This would probably mean that most arcs would be irrelevant, and there would be more intense battles. With this, I'm not just seeing the Alliance lasting longer than usual. Even though we did say the other Titans get some minor upgrades, it still wouldn't matter, as let's not forget that the Astros' attack powers are just too high. Yeah, it's crazy to think that all of this would happen just because of the absence of G-Man. Wait, does this mean his plot armor also helps protect the Alliance? No wonder he said they would need him. But anyways, I think you all understand, right? The Alliance currently stands no chance against the Astros, at least with their shown technologies. Speaking of that, we might get to see the agents build something powerful enough to take out Astros, but still, it wouldn't help significantly in the overall battle. And slowly but surely, the Alliance would get wiped out. Did you ever wonder what would happen if the camera Titan won in episode 20? Or what if the Titans died in episode 65? Or even more interesting, what if the UFO toilet died in episode 53? Well, in order to answer that, I spent a long time thinking about these interesting topics, and let me tell you, some of them would be absolutely chaotic. For example, if the camera Titan won in episode 20, this would mean that either G-Man got defeated, or he would run away. But as we all already know, running away is my man's specialty. I mean, even in his newly upgraded form, he still ran. Okay, seriously, let's say he runs away. What happens next? Well, although the camera titan would be injured, he would still continue to clear the mutants. After some episodes, the speakermen would arrive, and the same goes for the speaker titan as well. This would mean that the duo of the camera and speaker would begin much earlier, and with their combined might, those mutants sent during those episodes would be easily eliminated. One good thing here is that the speaker titan wouldn't get infected since his buddy is with him all the time. This would mean that until the events of the TVs, the agents would be under less pressure. With the TV Titan's appearance, we would then get to see the trio combo of the base Titans, which we weren't opportune to see in the original. But yeah, that's gonna be cool, right? Nothing the Skbidis had in their arsenal during those early episodes would faze them. Most of the intense episodes, like 49, 50, and the others, would be taken care of. Also, since the Speaker Titan wasn't infected, some episodes would be redundant, and the Alliance would go straight to the objective, and that is to take down the Skbidis base. However, things would get difficult from episode 65, as there, this fake G-Man was left to fight them. Boy, would this guy give them some difficult time. But think about it. He gave two of our upgraded Titans, camera and speaker, some decent fight, forcing them to go all out. So now that they aren't upgraded, he would have more chances to win, not to mention the kamikaze that would fall later on. I could say the Titans lose in this episode, but judging from how the TV Titan acts and his teleportation powers, retreating would be their best option. However, it would come with some damages. The episode continues, and the Titans would somewhat equip themselves, knowing there's a mutant that could give them some problems when they reach the base. In episode 67, they would finally attack, and this is where it ends because now, not only would they fight the big scientist, but also Jimmy and the fake G-Man as well. But we should note that these guys wouldn't be as strong as they were in the original. I mean, the scientist wouldn't have the boombox, Jimmy would roughly be in his 3.0 state, while the fake G-Man would be a little bit damaged from the past battle. However, despite all these drawbacks, our Titans would stand no chance. They would put up a fight, but they wouldn't be able to defeat all of them. And with this, our Alliance loses in this episode. So yeah, we should be happy that our camera lost and went to get upgrades. Okay, before we move on to the UFO part, let's quickly see what would happen if the Titans died in episode 65. Now, we all know that the Titans present there were the camera and speaker Titan. And if they died in that episode, the TV Titan would be the only Titan of the Alliance left in the show. This would mean he would have to come much earlier, in episode 67, to be able to save our POV. He would then fight against the scientist, defeating him just as he did in the original story. As for Jimmy, I don't think he would engage in the fight. The TV Titan continues the following episodes and takes down the threats. Although other Titans not being present would be a big problem, it actually has some merit, as the TV Titan would be at full strength and power, since he wouldn't have to share his energy with anyone, making his attacks much more powerful. In his battle against Jimmy, I think just him alone would be able to handle him. After all, he did do most of the damage in that battle, while others were more like support. I think the plot would give him brains, so he wouldn't be diving as badly as that. Anyways, in episode 74, after seeing that the threats are much more powerful and also numerous in numbers, the TV Titan would most likely take some agents from the battlefield and retreat via teleportation. This would mean there would be fewer casualties. Now, we all know how the battle of the TV and Astro Striders went, right? Yeah, it's probably gonna go the same way. However, in his fight against the Red Astro, or Astro Juggernaut, he would have more advantage as now he wouldn't be as weakened as he was. Okay, maybe he would, since there are some extra battles he would fight alone. However, I do believe he would stand more chances against the Astro and might even damage him severely. Anyways, the story would still turn out the way it did in the original story, and he would still get infected. So I guess it really didn't change much of the story. However, the problem begins in the future episodes, as now, the Alliance doesn't have any Titans to help, except Jimmy. But yeah, he obviously can't take all of them, so the agents would all get screwed at some point. Now, let's look at the most interesting one. What would happen if the UFO toilet died in episode 53? Yeah, that episode where the camera Titan almost smashed him with his hammer, but due to speed, he managed to evade it. However, what if this was not the case? What if the camera actually landed the hit and killed him? Well, first of all, we all know this would trigger the coming of the Astros much earlier. Judging from the original story, it would probably be around episode 60, where we saw the Astros again. However, this time, instead of just two, it would be a lot of them, and they would attack everywhere. Also, seeing that they are in no friendly relationship with the Skbidis, they would also attack them as well. And since at this point in the series, the Alliance doesn't have advanced upgrades and technology, things would be a lot more difficult for them, and the same applies to the Skibidis. However, one good thing in this scenario is that the Titans are still at peak strength, unlike episode 74, where they were looking wrecked and had no power to do anything whatsoever. This time, they would be able to fight back, defeating a lot of Astros. But not to underestimate, they would take a lot of damage in the process. Seeing that their forces are being reduced, the Astros would send their elite member, the Detainer Astro. And dang, would he be a very difficult opponent for our Titans. But going back to the agents' side for a moment, seeing that the Astros are disturbing both sides, the Alliance and Skbidi would have no choice but to work together. And with this, characters like Jimmy 4.0 would join in the battle, helping our Titans. With this, the Astro Detainer would stand absolutely no chance and would then get defeated. This would rage the Astros even more, and the Duchess, together with the Juggernaut Astro, would come in. So let's say the Camera Titan fights the Duchess, leaving Jimmy and the Speaker to fight the Red Astro. So how would this battle turn out? Well, I think the Camera Titan is most certainly more powerful than the Duchess, so she would be taken out of the picture. However, on the other end, the Speaker and G-Man would be having a rough time, but they would be able to hold off until the camera is done. And then they 3v1 the Juggernaut and would definitely defeat him. Okay, I guess this is where we pause the story, because we don't know the other Astros. Oh, I forgot about the Astro Puppy. Well, since they are now in a truce, they would defeat him as they did in the original. And you know what this means, right? We would see the Skbidi mummy much earlier. Wow, that's cool. Okay, maybe I'm dreaming, because Plunger and the rest of the special agents would be the ones to take him down. Anyways, the agents would still have everything in control, and no Titan would be infected, at least for now. However, check out this video to see my bro explain every form of G-Man in the Monster Up series. Go on, check it out.